Alien professor challenges students to build shelter in 1 hour, but a human finishes in 10 minutes. Professor Zyx Thala's tentacles writhed with excitement as she addressed her advanced survival engineering class at the Galactic University. The massive amphitheater buzzed with anticipation, filled with beings from dozens of worlds, crystalline Vortakians, gaseous nebulans contained in their environmental suits, and various other species representing the cream of interstellar academia. Today, we test your practical application of theoretical knowledge, the professor announced, her voice resonating through the universal translator. You have 1 standard hour to construct a functional shelter using only the materials provided in the simulation chamber. The challenge parameters are based on the hostile environment of planet Kepler 442c. Among the students sat Marcus Chin, the sole human in the program. At 22, he was younger than most of his classmates, who averaged several centuries in age. His presence had initially been met with skepticism. Humans were newcomers to the galactic community, barely having achieved faster-than-light travel 50 years ago. The simulation chamber materialized around them, transforming into a windswept alien landscape. Toxic purple storms raged in the distance, and the ground trembled with seismic activity. Scattered around the barren terrain were various materials, metal alloys, crystalline structures, biopolymers, and energy cells. "Begin," Professor Zyx Thala commanded. The alien students immediately began their methodical approaches. The Vortakians started calculating optimal structural geometries using their innate mathematical abilities. The nebulans analyzed atmospheric conditions with their gaseous forms, while the insectoid klaxons began secreting binding agents to fuse materials together. Marcus, meanwhile, took a different approach. While his classmates deliberated and calculated, he sprinted toward a cluster of curved metal sheets. His hands moved with practiced efficiency, bending and shaping the materials. Within minutes, he had constructed a basic framework. The other students paused their work, watching in bewilderment as the humans seemed to abandon all scientific methodology. Marcus wasn't running complex calculations or analyzing stress tolerances. Instead, he was working purely on instinct, his movements flowing like a choreographed dance. He grabbed energy cells and began welding joints with crude but effective technique. The shelter taking shape looked nothing like the elaborate, geometrically perfect structures his classmates were planning. It was rough, asymmetrical, and appeared to violate several engineering principles they'd studied. "Fascinating," whispered Quentar, a four-armed Zarathian known for his precision engineering. "He's not following any established protocols." Marcus sealed the final seam and activated the shelter's basic life support system. The crude-looking structure hummed to life, its force field shimmering as it repelled the toxic atmosphere. He had created a fully functional shelter in exactly 10 minutes and 37 seconds. The simulation chamber fell silent except for the howling wind. Professor Zyx Thala's optical sensors focused on the human's creation, scanning it thoroughly. Her tentacles curled in what her species expressed as confusion. "Impossible," she muttered. "According to my calculations, this shelter should collapse within moments. The support ratios are all wrong, the materials aren't properly bonded, and the energy distribution is completely inefficient." Yet the shelter stood firm, weathering the simulated storm with remarkable resilience. Marcus wiped sweat from his brow and looked around at his stunned classmates. "Sorry, did I miss something? Are we supposed to wait the full hour?" Professor Zyx Thala approached the shelter, her scanning equipment working overtime. "How did you know this would work? Your design violates fundamental engineering principles." Marcus shrugged. "I don't know about principles, but I've built plenty of emergency shelters. When I was a kid, my dad took me camping in places where the weather could turn deadly in minutes. You learn to work fast with whatever you have. But the calculations. Sometimes you don't have time for calculations," Marcus interrupted gently. "Sometimes you just have to trust your hands and hope for the best." The alien students exchanged glances, their advanced minds struggling to process this concept. They had been taught that superior intelligence and precise methodology were the keys to survival. Yet here was a primitive human who had succeeded through intuition and raw experience. As the simulation ended, Professor Zyx Thala realized her curriculum might need some very human adjustments. Perhaps there was more to survival than perfect calculations. Sometimes the greatest tool was simply knowing how to adapt and act when time was running out.